Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Ich warte seit Wochen auf diesen Tag und tanz vor Freude über den Asphalt. Als wär's ein Rhythmus, als gäb's ein Lied, das mich immer weiter durch die Straßen zieht. Komm dir entgegen.
Hello and welcome to Gegenpressing, the Bundesliga podcast. This is the transfer show. I'm Manu and Stefan Biankowski. Stefan, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Feeling rebuilt, reborn after a couple of days off. The sunburn has abated slightly, so I'm not feeling as uncomfortable on that front. But yeah, I'm doing well, and I think you're doing well too, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Obviously, people can guess from the background. I'm somewhere else. I'm in Munich. Just arrived yesterday. I strip off the jet lag band-aid as quickly as I can, usually, Stefan, by just staying up the entire first day and then sleeping really well the first night, which I did, 11 and a half hours. I can't remember the last time I slept 11 and a half hours. I think that was in university, maybe. So without dating myself, a long time ago. So yeah, but I feel great. I feel really good, and I'm really excited to be here in Munich. Obviously, if you have listened to the previous podcast this week, you will know that there's a lot of content coming. Relegation playoff game tomorrow in Stuttgart, of course. Then the German Cup final on Saturday. Then the second leg of the relegation playoffs while I'm in Hamburg in the office on our day job, Stefan, Transfermarkt. Blowing the cobwebs of both of our desks that are just sitting empty in Hamburg. And so, stay tuned. There's a lot of coming. But this is the transfer show, Stefan, and we have a lot to chat about this week. You know, we're kind of getting into the time of the year now where it really matters, where a lot of clubs do their business, especially in England, right? But in Germany, I actually feel like we're a little bit behind than what we usually are. The big German clubs usually at this time of the year have already done their business. And I think that is to a large part due to both Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich knowing where they're going to be, right? This year a little bit different. We had the title race to the very end. We had a relegation battle to the very end. So I feel like everything is a little bit delayed. That's at least the sense that I'm getting. So on top of that, at Bayern, and this is the first topic that we have this week, surprise, surprise, we have talked a lot about Bayern. Don't worry, we have a lot of content that is not Bayern related on this show. So please stay tuned if you're not a Bayern fan. But I feel like at Bayern Munich, there is a lot of upheaval at the moment because Hasan Salihamidzic, the guy who does all the transfers, is gone. And I actually had a really interesting conversation with Alphonso Davies' agent the day I flew to Germany, which I think is 48 hours ago. So bear with me here. But the conversation that I had with him, and there's a big feature on Davies up on Transfermarkt with some of the quotes. So if you're more interested in that, go check that out. But essentially, what he complained about at the moment is that there's no one to talk to because Hasan Salihamidzic did all the transfers and he alone did all the transfers. Oliver Kahn was not involved. He's of course gone too. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge and Uli Hoeneß come in, but the agents never dealt with these two people, right? So there's a lot of confusion at the moment who's actually in charge at Bayern Munich of doing transfers. And that seems to delay a lot of things, but it also seems to cause some people who were on the fence about leaving or not to actually now making the decision to probably leave. And we have had talked about Benjamin Pavard, for example, before, right, on the show. And it looks like that Benjamin Pavard, and he's been kind of flip-flopping. There was a time when he said he was going to leave, then it looked like he was going to stay. He's actually now put in a transfer request to leave, Stefan. And I actually kind of sense that maybe without this turmoil and without Hasan Salihamidzic leaving, there would have probably actually been a really good chance for him to stay after all.
Yeah, possibly. Pavard's kind of baffled me for a number of years now, I must admit. There's always been so much discussion about his ideal position. He's obviously been very outspoken in a way that I think goes beyond his station, to be perfectly honest with you. He's very vocal about saying, he wants to play central defence. Not a big fan of playing as a right back. He thinks he's better as a central defender. I saw Kevin Hatchard make a really good point about this on Twitter, actually, when he said, for years Pavard has said he thinks he's a better central defender than right back, but in truth it's probably the other way around. And I think I probably agree with him to an extent. Because whenever Pavard has had a chance to play as a central defender, maybe not always, but more often than not, he usually has come up short. We saw that in recent games towards the end of the season. I think that Leipzig game is perhaps a good example of that, where he was kind of parachuted into a central defence position and, he kind of choked to a large extent. He looked sloppy on the ball. He looked very sloppy off the ball. And the conclusion I've kind of came to with Pavard is that while he might have a reputation or a profile that demands that he should be a starting player at a big club in Europe, I was never really sure he was actually worthy of that at Bayern Munich. So, he's always been a very useful backup player, because as we discussed, he can play central defence, he can play right back, arguably even play right wing back if he had to. But I just never really thought he was worth this much trouble, to be honest with you. I think he's probably benefited from the fact that Bayern have just made no effort to fix that right back position for a number of years now. Talking about it's basically Pavard or Bruno Sarr in that position. Cancelo obviously could have done that role when he was here on loan. He's now obviously returned to Man City, I'd imagine, or will do in the coming weeks. So I guess Pavard has kind of benefited from circumstances at Bayern, and I think he's actually been quite fortunate in that regard. So part of me kind of thinks, if he's still kicking off about this, if he's still making a big fuss about leaving, just let him go. If he wants to go to Barcelona or Real Madrid.
Thank you for listening to Believe. You can show support to your host by subscribing to the show and giving us a 5-star rating on your preferred platform. Check us out at Believe.com and search for BLEAV on YouTube.